little bit earlier tonight because we have to end earlier, but it's always a split to learn together. So thank you for being with us. In tonight's shir, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov's teachings, we're going to be going further in the Sefer of Sichot Haran, which we've been learning for quite some time now. If you have Sichot Haran, you should open it to the Ot 188. But before we see the text inside, I want to speak about a certain concept that is going to be the topic of tonight. We said that the topic of the shir is basically how did Rebbe Nachman feel other people's pain. Now that's something that is really it's very different by Rebbe Nachman than by other people. I'm just prefacing by saying that it's not basically a directive as to how we should act today, but it is very interesting to see the heart of Rebbe Nachman and how sensitive he was to everything that was brought to his plate. And it was a lot. It was a lot. Now, there is a concept in sweetening judgments, which is called doing a pidyon nefesh. When a person does tshuva in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we say what removes the evil decree? Utshuva, utfila, utzdaka. So actual tshuva, and we can basically take the Rambam's understanding of what Hilchos tshuva, what the tshuva I'm supposed to be doing for a certain sin is, tefillah, davening, that my tshuva should be accepted, and tzedakah. In giving tzedakah, ma'avirin et ro'ag zera, that removes the evil decree. And in many different Hasidic courts, this is a very big thing where you write a pidyon nefesh, which is more or less, for lack of a better term, is a redemption of the soul. Just basically, you give a sum of money, a certain sum of money, which is equivalent to the numerical value of, let's say, a person's name, that's basically there to sweeten judgments against that person. There's different minhagim for all that. But the concept of giving the tzaddik money to podeh your nefesh is not a foreign concept in the more mystical circles. In Breslov, it's very, very common, as well as other places as well. The concept of pidyon nefesh is something that we know about. And in this teaching, we'll understand perhaps why certain people may be a little bit skeptical of that concept of taking a pidyon nefesh. Because it's, when it comes to money, we always get a little bit eerie. And then when it comes to spiritual people dealing with money, it's a little bit, I don't know, just, it can rub us the wrong way, but we have to look deep inside and understand what is it that a tzaddik is supposed to be like when he receives tzedakah from a person that's looking for a tikkun for their nefesh, for their neshama. And that's already a whole other story. So we're going to see, though, tonight's a tzad of Rebbe Nachman that we don't really think about so much. It's a beautiful tzad. It's mamash, a beautiful tzad. And I believe that if we open our hearts, we'll hear a very deep message through tonight's teaching. So you'll see the text in front of you. This is Rebbe Nachman of Breslov and Kuf Pei Chet, Rebbe Nachman's Wisdom, number 188. The Rebbe said like this, Amar, Shepli'a be'enai im mevi'in pidyon le'echad u'mesaprin lo tzaro. It's absolutely wondrous to me when you bring a pidyon nefesh to a certain someone and you tell the person that you brought the pidyon to about your tzarot, about how difficult life is, kegon michole, like if it's a sick person that needs a healing, וכיוצא, כשאינו מרגיש הצער והייסורים כמו החולה בעצמו. Rabbi Nachman says, I don't understand. When someone comes and pours out their heart and soul to you, and they give you a pidyon nefesh, Rabbi Nachman says, I don't understand how one is able to not feel the pain that was just told over to the person. So to merit, a guy named Yankel, he's so nebuch, he comes to a tzaddik named Reb Chaim, let's say. Yankel comes to Reb Chaim and says to him, Rebbe, my liver, my kidneys, I'm in such pain. I all the time, it doesn't stop, and I just need some kind of a tikkun for my neshama, for my nefesh. Rebbe Nachman is wondrous. He's saying when someone receives a pidyon nefesh, it doesn't make any sense to him at all how Reb Chaim, who received the pidyon, doesn't himself become sick like the person that's ill. He was wondrous to him. Now we learn from this, we see from this, one second, I'm just going to close the door. One second. We see from this that by Rebbe Nachman, it was a given. You should not be in the business of being a spiritual soul master unless you're able to open your heart in a safe way, well, that's what it seems like, in a safe way, to someone else's pain when they come to you. I always share the story that I had the privilege to see this happen in front of me when I was 24 years old. Right before my 25th birthday, I was by the Amshinover Rebbe in Beit Vagan. It was the tish of his grandfather's yard site. It was Yom Yerushalayim, Chaf Chet Iyar. Someone called me, said, listen, Shlomo, run to Amshinov, the Rebbe's there, he's giving out cake. You can go online and you can whisper something into his ear. Tell him I was going through a very hard, confusing time in life, a lot of pain. I whispered, it was my turn to go and receive from the Rebbe of Chaim, Zanot, I forget what it was, and the Rebbe, I whispered into the Rebbe's ear in English that some pain that I'm going through. The Rebbe wanted to make sure he heard what I was saying. He asked again, what? And I said, and he jolted backwards. He jumped backwards like he was getting a dart in his heart. I felt so bad. But I saw what it's like when it's tzaddik. When he really hears you, he feels you. So this is what Rabbi Nachman is saying. You gotta be somehow feeling the pain and the affliction almost like the person that's ill is feeling it. And then he says, and you see at the end of the second line, it says, V'chen nishma mipiv kama pa'amim. And we heard this a few times from Rabbi Nachman himself. Ve'amar. And this is so telling about the Rebbe's, this is very interesting with the Rebbe's character and who Rabbi Nachman was. Ve'amar, betchila haiti mevakesh meito yitbarach, she'ehyeh margish tsar v'yisurin shel Yisrael. In the beginning, I used to ask from Hashem that I myself should feel the pain and the affliction of Am Yisrael. כי לפעמים היה אחד בא וסיפר לי צערו, ולא הייתי מרגיש הצער. והייתי מתפלל שארגיש צערו של ישראל. Rabbi Nachman says, you know what used to happen to me? In the beginning, people would come to me. They would tell me their pain. They would give it over to me. But the problem was that I wasn't feeling their pain. Maybe I was even able to help, but I didn't really feel their pain. So Rabbi Nachman says, I ended up davening that I should feel the pain of the people that are coming and talk to me. Now, he says, but now, עכשיו, כשאחד מספר לי צערו, אני מרגיש בעצמי הצער יותר ממנו. Rabbi Nachman says, but you know what happens nowadays? When someone comes to me and pours out their heart and soul and tells me about their pain, the Rebbe says, I end up feeling it more than the person itself. וממש נוטפים ממני הדמים מגודל הצער שאני מרגיש יותר ממנו. I'm literally bleeding. I bleed over this. כי הוא יכול לחשוב מחשבות אחרות ולשכוח הצער. Because the person that is in physical pain or whatever pain they're in, they can distract their mind and forget about the pain that they're going through momentarily. אבל אני מרגיש מאוד כנזכר לאל. But the Rebbe says that once he davened to be able to feel the pain of other Yidden, once he davened for it, he couldn't distract himself. Didn't matter what was going on. Rabbi Nachman couldn't just be like, you know what, I'm going to stop thinking about it now, and it won't bother me. Once it became part of his heart was bleeding in pain over it. That's the Rebbe that we're learning from. ואמר לאחד מאנשיו שביקש אותו שלא ישכח אותו. And one of his followers once said, please don't forget me. So the Rebbe said, how could I forget any of you? הלא כל אחד ואחד יש לו אצלי מקום בליבי. I cannot forget any of you because each and every one of you has a place in my heart. So I want to talk outside the text for a little bit about what we just learned, because I think it's a very important concept. Very, very important concept. What does it mean to lachrot mishu ala lev shelcha? What does it mean to engrave someone in your heart? Now, I want to make sure that I'm being as clear as I can. When we learn Rebbe Nachman, and we learn about some of his ma'alot, some of his levels, what can happen to the potential leader or spiritual seeker is that they'll set this to be a goal. But that is a problem, because you have to have a lot of other things taken care of in order to be someone to bear someone else's pain at all, especially on the level of the person that's telling you over the pain. And in Rabbi Nachman's case, to feel it even more than they feel it. To understand, this is a different inyan. I don't feel like that you and I should leash off to reach this level that Rabbi Nachman is speaking of. Because Rabbi Nachman paid a big price for this tefillah, which we're going to speak about in a few minutes. To ask Hashem to feel someone else's pain comes with a lot of responsibility. It sounds very holy, and it sounds very beautiful, but gewalt, the responsibility, excuse me, the package that comes with must be something that you should be aware of what you're getting into. I've seen many people that from a really holy place definitely must have asked Hashem, I want to feel their pain. But instead of being able to help someone after feeling their pain, they got buried with that person's pain. And that can't be Avodas HaKodesh. That can't be what it is. But we see by Rebbe Nachman and we see by other tzaddikim from the past, which we'll learn from in a moment, that this was a concept that people, big tzaddikim, paid the price for. And they knew of it. It wasn't so simple, but they did. They paid the price for it. So we see over here in the piece that we saw right now is that what must have it felt like to be one of Rebbe Nachman's Hasidim? I was wondering after learning this piece, after preparing this piece, was it something that was clear and evident to each person that was in Rebbe Nachman's presence? I wonder if we were one of Rebbe Nachman's Hasidim. First of all, that'd be the most frightening and the coolest thing in the world, Aleph. Based though, I'm wondering on a conscious level, how much would we have been in touch with what Rabbi Nachman was feeling for us and about us? And when we came and told him our pain, and when we did a pidyon nefesh, was it clear to us was it evident to us the amount of pain that we were then putting on the Rebbe? And if it was, would we have chosen to do it? It's very interesting, Shilas. These are things that I think about sometimes. And after giving it more thought, I don't think that the Hasidim by Rebbe Nachman, perhaps other than maybe Reb Nassim or Reb Naftali or Rabbi Shimon, these are the prime pupils, I don't think that anyone else really could see and sense this, because otherwise you wouldn't go about and put this on the Rebbe. But what the Rebbe is telling us over here, Reb Nassim is telling us, the name of the Rebbe, is that this is something that didn't come natural to Rebbe Nachman. It's something he invited in. It's something he asked for, it's pretty far out when you think about it. And then I wondered, did Rebbe Nachman regret asking for this? Did Rebbe Nachman perhaps regret asking to feel the pain of every other Jew to the extent that he felt it? So Lemaisa, for us and our understanding of what's going on, it is a very deep lesson that gives us a lot of guidance to say, like, in any form of leadership, if you're not feeling to a certain extent the pain of what someone's telling you, maybe the gig is not for you. But we're not saying over here that the goal is to feel it to the extent that we're learning about this tzaddik, this human being that surpassed anything that we could possibly imagine in terms of spiritual elation and sensitivity and characteristic traits being purified and refined. But you know what? As much as we feel the pain of Am Yisrael, and it's hard, anyone that ever tasted the pain of another Yid would never give up that pain for anything in the world. It makes us who we are. There are people with us on this learning right now, and I'm not going to mention you by name. People that I have seen written Facebook posts or have sent emails expressing their heart being ripped out of them over someone else's pain in Am Yisrael. And as much as you wish it didn't have to happen to that person so that you wouldn't feel it, once you felt it, would you ever give up that pain? Not in a million years. Not in a million years. It's hard to describe what that actually feels like. I wish I knew what it really felt like. But I could imagine that it's basically one of those defining moments in our character, and one of those moments where we look at our lives here and we're like, it was worth coming into this world to be that connected to what that person is going through. V'chein, and also when it comes to simchas, it should be just as much. If you're just a champion in feeling someone's pain, but you have no idea how to feel someone's simcha, it probably means you don't really know how to feel their pain. It's dependent on each other. So anyway, we should be connected to leaders, to righteous men and women that serve as leaders, that are able to be vulnerable to feel another person's pain, but only to the extent that it doesn't really start to torture them themselves. Because that's very, very heavy. That's very, very heavy. So that's a little bit of a glimpse into like what it must have felt like to be a chassid of Rebbe Nachman in his lifetime. Because maybe when you came to the Rebbe and you told him everything that was going on with you, maybe he looked like he was like singing a niggun, or he looked like he was really besimcha or something. Maybe he said, oi, but a minute later he was fine, because maybe he didn't want you to feel guilty for dropping a heavy load on him. But maybe, I don't know. But it's just like, sometimes I feel like it's important to learn a certain teaching and then replay it, or play it in your mind, visualize it, as if, you could be there. Now, it's very difficult for any of us that have been to Uman and to imagine it, because in Uman itself, it's very hard to get a feel of what it was like to be around Rebbe Nachman, because nothing there looks remotely close to especially the area where the Rebbe is buried, to what it was like back then. But anyone that's been to Breslov can easily transport themselves back to a scenery, to a scenic view, to a whole matzav of what it must have felt like to be around the Rebbe Dafka then in that area. Because there it's just so reminiscent of, or easily lends itself to be visualized as something so transporting back 200 years. It's incredible. The next piece will continue a little bit of the first topic, but it'll go deeper into the consciousness and the awareness and responsibility that Rebbe Nachman knew he had for acting in certain ways that he acted, that he asked Hashem to know about. So again, when it comes to knowing about people's pain and people's tzarot, Rebbe Nachman's very clear and says, this is not something that came to me so easily. I davened for it. And we're wondering, did the Rebbe then wish he didn't daven for that? Let's see the next piece. So in Sichos Saran, Rebbe Nachman's wisdom, this is piece 189. So you'll see the text in front of you right now. So we're talking about a story right now that took place after Shavuos in the year 1805, so 5 years prior to Rebbe Nachman's death. And the Rebbe says like this: Pam achat haya nechdo zichrono livracha mutal al eres machle ha-pakin ababuot shchorot. That's smallpox. Now I saw another text that said it was actually the Rebbe's granddaughter, not the daughter, not the grandson, whatever. But it says over here, Vaya kovel lefanai me'od. So Reb Nosson said that he was complaining to me very much. Yesh lo tsar gadol mizeh me'od. That the Rebbe had a lot of pain from it, from his granddaughter's smallpox.
Grandson.
Well, the other version that I'm following, it says the granddaughter had smallpox. So Rabbi Nachman tells Reb Nosson over here something that's very important for you and I as well, for anyone that feels the pain of somebody else. וסיפר לי אז ואמר שיש דרכי השם שאי אפשר להבינם. Rabbi Nachman told Rebbe Nachman there's certain things. Now this is Rabbi Nachman saying this to Rebbe Nachman. It's not just an average Rav. This is Rabbi Nachman saying there are ways of Hashem that are impossible to comprehend. Ki ita she'etzel ha'ari zichrono livracha. By the holy Kabbalist, our holy sage, the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, mistalek ben echad. He had a son that died. The Arizal, who also lived not that long, buried a son. Ve'amar shenistalek bishvil hasod shegila letalmido Rabbi Chaim Vital, zichrono livracha. And the Arizal said that that his son died because of a secret that Reb Chaim Vital was discovered from the Arizal. So this is a very foreign concept, where we see that the price that the tzaddikim have to pay when they reveal something that's very secretive. Ki Rabbi Chaim, the third line, V'alo be'emet ha'ari haya muchrach legadot lo. Rabbi Nachman says the Arizal had to reveal to Reb Chaim Vital. Why? Reb Chaim Vital was like Moshe and Yoshua. You had the Arizal, Reb Chaim Vital. You had Reb Nachman and Reb Nassim. So also over here, Reb Chaim Vital wouldn't let go. There was a certain inyan that he wanted to know about. It's about the secret of the gazelle that's brought down in the Zohar. וכשהפציר בו היה מוכרח לגלות לו. כי אמר שלא בא לעולם כי אם לתקן נשמתו של רבי חיים ויטל, זיכרונו לברכה. The Arizal said the reason he came into this world was to fix the neshama of Reb Chaim Vital. I know what you're thinking right now. You might be thinking, he came here to fix the neshama of his student on the expense of his son. This is the place where I say, I don't understand anything. I'm just trying to give over how Rabbi Nachman brought this down. Nimtza. Now this is very interesting. Nimtza shaya mukhrach min hashamayim legalot lo hasod. So we see that it was necessary from heaven to reveal to him the secret. And yet, even though he had to do this, but even though this was something that he was forced to do from heaven, he was still punished over this, like we mentioned before. This is the ways of God that are impossible to comprehend, to which Rebbe Nachman was referring to before. Zehu darkei Hashem, she'i efshar lahavin b'sechel b'shum ofen. It's like, again, there was something the Arizal had to do. It was dictated from heaven that he had to do this. But he also, the result of what ended up happening was also a must. It had to be. And it's incomprehensible how that can work exactly. This is Darkei Hashem, that these are secrets we don't understand. The closest maybe perhaps we can get to in our lives is when we think of things that we know we have to do, and we're also a little bit aware of the price that must come from it. I mean, an easy one for traveling parents, traveling working parents is a very clear one. I know I have to go travel and take care of my family. I know that. It's not something, and it's even a bracha that there's well, not today because no one's going anywhere, but in the days where people are actually traveling for work. So I know it's a bracha. I know it's an amazing thing. And I know that this is from you, Hashem, but it's inevitable that my children and my wife are not going to have the easiest time. How could that be? So if that's the lifeline you're sending me, why should there have to be such a precious and delicate expense on it? That's just a very small comparison to what Rabbi Nachman is speaking about, Lema de Arizal. But these are the Darkei Hashem that we just can't understand. Now, Rabbi Nachman continues, second paragraph. והמובן מדבריו לעניין עצמו, שכל צערו וייסורין וצער בניו שיחיו, הכל הוא רק מחמת שעוסק עמנו לקרבנו להשם יתברך. What was clear from what Rabbi Nachman was saying was that all the pain and affliction that his children, that his offspring were experiencing, including his grandson or granddaughter in the piece that we see here, הכל הוא רק מחמת שעוסק עמנו לקרבנו להשם יתברך. It's happening, the pain they're enduring is only happening because He's worked because the Rebbe was working so hard to bring us close to Hashem. ואף על פי שהוא מוכרח לזה, כי בוודאי השם יתברך רוצה בזה. And even though he must do this avodah because this is what God wants, because God, כי הוא יתברך חושב מחשבות לבל יידח ממנו נידח. God is constantly thinking of ways to make sure that no one will ever feel cast away from him. אף על פי כן היה לו ייסורים קשים גדולים מאוד על ידי זה. כי הוא דרכי השם כנזכר לעיל. Nonetheless, he had tremendous pain and affliction from this. And we can't understand how this adds up, but this was the reality he was living with. והיה הולך ומספר לפני צערו הגדול שיש לו מזה, שנכדו חולה כנזכר לעיל. And the Rebbe would talk to me, Rebbe Nachman says, he would tell me how much pain he was in over the yisurim that his grandchild was feeling. Maybe in this case, it's simply because the Rebbe was more or less felt very certain that the pain that the grandchild was feeling was because of him, but he had no other way of being in this world either. Philosophically, you could lose your mind over a piece like this. That's why in Breslov they're so big about saying, listen, don't try to don't go into the orchard of divine of intellect, because at a certain point you'll hit a wall. So what are you supposed to do in situations like this? You jump on the Emunah Pshuta wagon. Simple faith. Like Avram Avinu was told, I'm going to give you offspring through your son Yitzchak. And a few years later he tells him, take your son, your only son, and go and slaughter him. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm just going to do right now, Hashem, what you told me, Emunah Pshuta. And with Emunah Pshuta and being besimcha, that you're following what Hashem told you to do, you will eventually hear the voice that tells you exactly what to do with utmost clarity. Ve'amar, we're in the end of the second paragraph, Ve'amar shehu rotze shehu ba'atzmo yeh chole ba'ad atiyano kanal. Rebbe Nachman said, I want to have smallpox. I want to actually be sick instead of my baby grandchild. Ve'amar shehu margish kol gnichot hatinok shekorim krechtzin belibo. It's very deep. Rebbe Nachman says he felt every single kvetch of the baby in his heart. Can you think about that for a second? He felt the krechtzin of the baby, that whatever that is, as it is, one of our daughters has been coughing a little bit at nights recently, and every time we hear a cough, it does something, it does something to you. Imagine Rebbe Nachman saying, my grandchild's krechtzin, every single kvetch that this nebuch baby has with the smallpox, Rebbe Nachman feels it in his heart. It weighed very heavy on him. Achar kach amar, and then the bottom over here, the Rebbe says like this, Ach zot yechashev li letova, שגם כשאדם אחר יש לו חולה בתוך ביתו, הוא מביא לי פדיון ומבקש להתפלל עליו, יש לי גם כן צער כזה ממש ככל הנזכר לאל. So Rebbe Nachman says, I'm sure that there's a schus here, because you should know that when someone brings me a pidyon nefesh, like we spoke about before, to redeem their soul, tzedakah to redeem their soul, I also feel this type of pain that I just mentioned right over here, right now. גם כשאחד מאנשינו שהיה מקרב, מתרחק עצמו חס ושלום, יש לי צער כזה ממש בליבי ככל הנזכר לאל. And that pain of feeling cretching in my heart, Rebbe Nachman says, I feel that too. When one of our chevra who once came close ends up going far, I also feel that pain. It's as if like everything that Rebbe Nachman did, everything that Rebbe Nachman was in touch with on an energy level, literally weighed on him, very, very heavy. וסיפר אז מאחד שנתרחק באותם הימים, ואמר שיש לו ממנו כל הצער הנ"ל. Rebbe Nachman started speaking about one of his chevra that, it even happened in Rebbe Nachman's lifetime, that someone that was close to him decided, I got to check out. And when that person checked out, the Rebbe had a lot of pain over it. It wasn't just pain over, I feel so bad that I didn't do enough job of makarving him. But the Rebbe, once he became bound with someone in their soul, and then they started to unconsciously or consciously damage their inner being. The Rebbe felt that because he was there in the Shoresh Hashanah with that person. Shuv shamati me'ish echad, third line from the bottom. Shuv shamati me'ish echad me'anashav sheshama gam ken mirabbeinu zichrono livracha עניין זה בעת שנסתלק אצלו בנו הקטן Shlomo Ephraim zichrono livracha. Now, in the world of Breslov, this son of Rebbe Nachman plays a very big role. Rebbe Nachman's son, Shlomo Ephraim, I believe he was 15 months old when he passed away. Rebbe Nachman buried him. She'amar sheyesh lo yisurim bishvilenu. Rebbe Nachman said about this son, this kid suffered tremendously because of all the stuff that we had, meaning the relationship that Rebbe Nachman had with his students and the revealing of what Rebbe Nachman revealed. Rebbe Nachman said it was clear to him that his own son suffered from this tremendously. Halo ha'arizal lo gila ki im sod echad haya lo onesh. Rebbe Nachman says, isn't it amazing? The Arizal revealed one secret, and he suffered such a tremendous punishment from it. Mikol sheken shani giliti lachem sodot rabot ka'ela. He's saying all the more so should there have been here some type of tashlum, some type of expense for all the secrets that Rabbi revealed. So we see here, we see a lot of interesting things over here in this learning. The awareness of Rebbe Nachman about what was happening on a higher sphere while he was working with us down here in this world. Now, I just want to make sure we approach learning like this with a lot of bittul and anava, because when the 2020 ego comes to learn a Torah like this, it's like the easiest and holiest thing to become a biblical or a Hasidic Rebbe critique. Saying, and this is the reason why this whole cult of Hasidism is not for us, because how could parents sacrifice their children? They didn't sacrifice their children, God forbid. They were themselves. They were doing what they were supposed to do in the world. That's what Rabbi Nachman is saying. It's almost impossible to understand how by being ourselves and doing what we're supposed to be doing, other people, and sometimes people we love so much, suffer from it. Now, the whole science behind how that works, I don't pretend to have any idea how that works. But it is clear from the writings of the Rebbe that there was a very deep awareness to the fact that the more you reveal the secret, the more that you'd have to pay the price. And it's the price that no one ever wants to give over. But that might be that place that only the tzaddik emes, only the total righteous tzaddik is able to accept as being a fact of their life. Not that they understand why it has to be like that, but they know that's what they have to go through in this world. En ma lasot. It's just got to be like this. Darkei Hashem lo muvanim. These are the ways of Hashem that we don't understand. But on our level, le'inyanenu, like we said before, there are many things that you and I don't understand. It's almost like being ourselves in this world means we have to suffer. Even if we'll get eventually to some level of clarity and feel right and feel aligned with who we are, the journey till you get there is heart-wrenching. Heart-wrenching. This last Shabbos, we sent out right before Shabbos little Torah to the shul, a Torah from Parshas Pinchas, the Sfas Emes, who says that the only way for Shabbos to be Shabbos is to go through 6 days of creation, of topsy-turvy, ups and downs, craziness. And then only when you get through that, and you go through an inner war, and you stick with what you feel, you'll end up being in a place of Shabbos. But why do I have to go through such a war? Why does it have to be like that? Why do I have to have such inner turmoil in order to get to Shabbos, to get to the place of Yom Shekulo Shabbos? Why? I don't know. No one knows. Rabbi Nachman himself didn't understand why the inevitable had to be the way it was. But even on our level, wherever we're at, the opportunity to jump and invite the concept of simple faith, emuna pshuta, is always, always, always available and highly, tremendously advisable for each and every one of us. This is the world that we're in right now because none of us really understand what on earth is going on in the world? We don't get anything. We don't understand anything. Every day it's getting weirder and weirder. But Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe told us, Lo lityaesh, not to despair, rak lismoach yesh. Be besimcha, that you're a Baal Bechira, you're a person of choice that exercises, knows how to exercise their free will, and we're choosing to go to a place where intellect doesn't provide any barrier for us, because it's beyond intellect. It's that place of, I trust you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that what you're doing and the setup you have for us right now is for our benefit. It just is a time for me to dig deeper and get closer to you. Maybe the teaching we have today is telling us, try to feel the pain a little bit more of other Yidden that are suffering. Not to the place of paralyzing yourself. Maybe the concept of ahavat chinam is that you can't really love somebody unless you know what's hurting them in their heart. You can't. You can't really love someone unless you know what's really eating them up deep down inside. So it's always interesting when you start learning different Sfarim and you see that they're so connected. We learned almost these exact words on Wednesday in the Piasetzner shir that we had on Wednesday about a Chabura. That the way to bittul, the world of bittul, of self-nullification, in a holy and healthy way, is by immersing yourself in what's called the cloud, the Chabura. A Chabura of people that really know what each other are going through. Not a Chabura that likes to share deep insights when they have it available, but the other times, they don't want to hear it. Now, a friend of mine really grilled me on this in the beginning of Corona. The beginning of Corona, there was something very high in the air. And a friend of mine it's always concerned for me, a real chaver of mine, one of my closest friends, he contacted me the second or third week in, and he said to me, Shlomo, I haven't heard from you in 10 days. And I said, no, Achi, everything's okay. Don't worry. I know you're nervous about me. And he said to me something. He's like, yeah, but weren't you nervous about me? I was like, wow, it's not even about being selfish. It's about, if you really love someone, you have to know how they're doing. Maybe that's the learning we're having from tonight. Remember, Rabbi Nachman said, learn my lessons any which way you want them, as long as you don't go over halacha. And if it gives you a stronger kesher to Am Yisrael, to Torah Yisrael, to the Rebbe Nachman, that's me talking to you. Ashreinu, Baruch Hashem, we have the privilege of another week of learning the Rebbe's Torahs. They should go deep into our heart and soul. They should fill us with a longing to want to know each other better, to dig deeper into the heart, the pain and the simcha of every single Yid. Be'ezer Hashem. And you're all invited to join us tomorrow morning as we're finishing Tzav V'Ziros of the Piasetzner Rebbe. We're finishing it tomorrow b'Shat Tova Mutzlachat, and details as to the continuation of that track will be coming tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Remember, as long as we keep on learning and talking to Hashem about our learning, and talking to our friends and family about our learning and about our feelings and about our emotions, we are winning.